Hi everyone, and welcome to Office Hours here on the ViaMonstra Academy. I'm Johan, I will be host, and it is Wednesday. It's 4:30 p.m. Unfortunately, I'm without my partner in crime, Andrew, today. He's enjoying a well-deserved vacation, but I'll do my very best to keep up with the questions anyway. So that being said, let the intro roll. All right, welcome back. And as usual, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to post them in any of the chats. We are live streaming on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So most folks that we have watching these sessions are indeed on YouTube, but pick your platform. We are available on all of those four there. Now, that being said, as usual, we will share a bit of content and a bit of updates, what happened since the previous Wednesday. So this time I prepared a few notes. So first of all, Michael Niehaus, yesterday we were having a chat regarding Autopilot and the module for existing devices and some other things. But Niehaus posted a updated post, and I'll go ahead and share the screen right now. So this one is fairly fresh, but basically Michael and Andrew Taylor, they updated their PowerShell module yesterday. So it will also support skipping the region page as part of your Windows Autopilot process. So if you haven't seen this one, I highly recommend to take a look. Other notes, of course, we have, you might have seen these on our sister channel, the Deployment Research YouTube channel. I've started to post the ConfigMas 2023 videos. We decided to do only 12 this year because I tried to do 25 days in a row last year, and it turned out to be just a little bit too much. But I figured 12 days will be like a happy medium. And after all, it is 12 days of Christmas, so why not? So 2 episodes are out already. The third one will be out later tonight, and that one is going to be on task sequence error handling in ConfigMgr. Already started the prep work for that one. Not ready to record it, but it will be. Other interesting things I stumbled across was this one here. A blog from our friends over at Patch My PC. Andrew blogged about an Intune assignment bug they discovered back in August this year that haven't yet been fixed. But long story short, if you have Win32 applications and you have multiple assignments where you have different type of like deadlines for them, so either a given date or as soon as possible, what happens is that Intune could pick the wrong deadline when it's assigning those apps. If you scroll down to the end of the blog post, you will get this a little bit of recommendations on what you can do to work around this bug for now. The most easy thing is, of course, don't have many assignments to groups that have the same devices. But, sometimes you have, and I thought this was a useful information to share, at least for you. Then, since it's for many of us, it's holidays and hopefully a little bit slower at work in general, for those of you that are working in between Christmas and New Year's, I did stumble across a few years old, but it's a very good read. A little bit on the journey that Microsoft did back in the days to the Intune that we have today, from the old on-premises platforms all the way up to the scalable cloud service. So there are 4 pieces to this read. We'll take about 20, 30 minutes to read through. But it's a little bit challenging to find part 1, part 2, and part 3. But if you are a little bit of clever in searching, you'll find them. But it was a great read to read a little bit about the journey, or the Microsoft journey to Intune back in the days. Then, of course, on our Academy, if I can find that link, we have an upcoming mini course for the community. It's Michael Nystrom spending an hour and a half on January 9 on some of his tips and tricks on managing Windows Server 22. So if you haven't checked your schedule or cleared your schedule, highly recommend doing so. It starts at 1 p.m. Central Time, and as all of our mini courses, this one is free to attend. A question that came in actually yesterday was a question that came in on Twitter, and was a gentleman wanted to know how to create an offline media in MDT. So I figured, well, why not? It's Christmas. I can go ahead and share that. It's fairly simple to create a media in MDT Lite Touch. So what I did was I booted up earlier a MDT server that I happen to have. I have quite a few of them, but this is one of them. In this MDT server, I have a good chunk of different operating systems and sequences and applications and whatnot. And the scenario is, what if I only need to create like one media? And before jumping into that, I'm just going to double check the audio real quick, because it's kind of hard to hear yourself on the stream. But if I connect to the stream on Twitter, I should be able to hear myself. That is the idea. Yep, that worked. So audio checked. Perfect. Usually Andrew is around to tell me when the audio is not working, but today he is not. So double check the audio there. Anyhow, MDT Standalone Media. First of all, on this deployment server, and this is a question we get all the time, this one is running the absolute latest ADK, the September update, meaning 25398 is the build. That one, by default, is missing VBScript. And that, of course, makes MDT quite upset if you try to use that ADK version. Now, Microsoft did publish an official fix for it. So long story short, if you go to my blog here, you search for VBScript, that will be a blog post about what you had to do prior to that fix being available. So basically, you have to hunt down the updated optional components, but you don't have to do that anymore. As long as you apply the November update from Windows Server to your boot image, you're good to go. So what I did in my lab, because I didn't want to have to apply the update every single time I generate a boot image or a standalone media, I simply wrote a script. I have it right here. It will take that patch and it will apply it to the default boot image in the ADK folder. So if I go to my ADK folder, go one level up here, and go to my, you can see I have generated a new WinP file. And this was the script that created that updated Vim file. And as you can see here, this script is now adding all the components that MDT needs into that media. Now, you don't want MDT to try to add them again afterwards. So the way to do that in MDT is to borrow a copy of the Lite Touch template that comes with MDT. You copy that to your deployment share that has a templates folder as well. And as you can see in this one, I have commented out or removed the components section in it, because I've already added them into the boot image that is in the ADK folder. I don't want MDT to add them again. And just to show you a comparison, if I would open up the default one that I showed you earlier, where did you go, my friend? Here we are. this one does have those components in it. But since I copied the template over, it's not going to add them again. You can still add in other things like Dart. That's perfectly okay, but don't add any components twice to boot image when you're patching that in between. But that was, I will go ahead and share that script actually. I haven't done that yet. So if I go here, let's see where that script is located. It's in scripts. All right. Set up scripts. It will be this one here. I will copy it over to my GitHub share. I will create the MDT VBScript folder. I will paste it in. I will open up GitHub. And commit it. So that one is now available up on the script repository. As usual, it's this one here, github.com, deployment research. And this is where you find that updated file to update your ADK with the VBScript support. Now, back to the offline media. So the scenario here is I have a deployment share. I want to generate a media for Windows 11. I already have one for Windows 10, but I would like one for Windows 11. And I don't want the media that contain every operating system I have, just Windows 11. So the first thing you do is you create some folders. So I'm going to create a Windows 11 media folder. And I'm going to select the operating system I would like to have. So for example, this one here. And I will copy it to that folder. Then I'm going to create a folder inside sequences. Call that Windows 11 Media. I'm going to copy the Windows 11 sequence I would like to have into that folder. Then I will create a selection profile. We'll call that one Windows 11 Media. And I will select my Windows 11 Media folder under Operating Systems. I will select my Windows 11 Media under Sequences. And I will go ahead and create the media. Now, in order to create the media, you right-click and do New Media. Specify a folder. And the important thing here is to make sure it's not inside of your normal deployment share. That will break. So create it outside of that deployment share. Then you add in your selection profile. And before you can update the media and generate the ISO file, there are a few things I recommend configuring. First of all, you do not need a 32-bit boot image anymore. Windows 11 is 64-bit only. And the rules are separate on a media compared to your deployment share. So I prepared a few init files here that I will copy in. They have the product key for Windows 10 and Windows 11, the public KMS key. I'm hiding most of the wizard panes in MDT. I'm going to apply that change, open the bootstrap file, and I'm only going to add one thing into this one, and that is to skip that initial welcome screen in MDT that is a little bit annoying. But other than that, I'm good to go for now. You may want to go in here and, for example, skip drivers for any other than the drivers that you've added for WinP, for example. But other than that, you don't need to do any changes here. Now, if I right-click this one and update, it's going to build myself an ISO file. And that ISO file is bootable. Now, I did that one earlier with a Windows 10 one. So if you look in my folder here, I have a Windows 10 media with a Light Touch Media ISO. I created it the exact same way. And if I would go to one of my clients, and I need to copy over that ISO first. That will be fine. No, I can put it in the temp folder, ISO folder here. Give it a few seconds to copy over. Has to go over the network, so it will take a little bit. But then I can just mount that media. Wait patiently. And here I have my Windows 10 media. Hit enter, and 5 minutes later, I have a Windows 10 image deployed. The Windows 11 one should be updated soon. You can go back and try that one later, but I didn't want you to have to wait for that one to finish up. It does take a little while to generate the boot images, etc. So this is how you create media, standalone media in MDT Light Touch. So yeah, fairly quick, fairly simple. Now, I did see some questions coming in on YouTube here. There was a question from Jacob. Would you need to adjust the sequence to use the Vim from the Windows 11 media folder? Nope, I do not. When you make a copy of something in the workbench, it actually is not a copy. It's a link to the same. So as long as the GUID of that object is matching, it will find it. It can be quite tricky when you work with sequences. I will give you an example. So here I have a sequence in this folder, but it's the same ID as the sequence that I had here that I copied from. So if I go and make a change, like go into my sequence and throw in a Word demo in the sequence in my Windows 11 folder, if I go back to this one and double click that one, my change is still there. It's the same object. MDT just creates a link to it. So that's why I did not have to select it in from that folder. But otherwise, of course, anytime you have a sequence, you can go in and browse and select an image to add. But it's only going to be a reference in that one. And apparently we have coyotes in the backyard because one of our floofers just came by and announced his unhappiness with the fact of being somewhere else in the backyard, but not him. But anyhow, Matt was asking on YouTube, yeah, happy Christmas to you as well. Can you please share how to deploy a ConfigMgr client through Intune instead of through ConfigMgr? So the only native integration Intune has with... yeah, I know, it's terrible. It is. But you have to wait, sir. Yes, you have to wait. I'm busy. Oh, good Lord, dogs. That's a beautiful thing about the live stream. Anyhow, ConfigMgr Intune, yes. So if I go over to my Intune tenant, and head over to Devices and Device Enrollment, Good Lord, it helps if I'm logged in as the right account. That account was not an admin. This one is. Try again. Again, live demo. What can possibly go wrong? So devices, enroll devices, and here is the co-management settings for ConfigMgr. So this assumes that you have a cloud management gateway set up. And when this one is configured, when you create that policy, it will go ahead and install the ConfigMgr client during the Autopilot enrollment when co-management is configured. So that's the integration there. There are other options. I have seen folks creating a Win32 app with the ConfigMgr client agent and deploy that one. I don't have a ready-made example for you, but if you do a bit of Google search on that one, you'll find it, because that's how you did it before this feature was available. But again, it is intended to be installed through the Cloud Management Gateway, because at that point, the machine only have internet access. You cannot really expect it to have access to your corporate or local on-premises config manager server, at least not when you're enrolling devices into Intune. If you happen to be on your local network, then you can deploy it as a regular app there as well. It will find the management point and it will be happy. But it's just the CCM setup exe file with a few command line switches. I can see if I can find something real quick. Win32 app, CCM client. It looks like Escon has a post on it, as well as Anoop, as well as Martin Bengtsson. So let's pick one of those. So this one here shows you how to install it as a Win32 app, what conditions to add and requirement rules, etc., detection methods. So maybe this will be a starting point for that one. It's been a few years old, but ConfigMgr client hasn't really changed. It still installs the same way. So this is for an on-premises type deployment. This one here is when you use co-management through Autopilot and want that one to integrate there. The fun thing I stumbled across just today, in fact, was if you check the automatic enrollment, they did a rename here just recently. It used to say MAM here, or Mobile Application Management. Now it's called Windows Information Protection User Scope, which is a little bit confusing, because if you click this link here, it will tell you that, well, this is absolutely not supported and won't be supported in future versions of Windows. And like, okay, you just changed it to here. So, but I'm hoping that that documentation will be clarified a little bit. But this was just a fun thing that I noticed. Any other questions out there? I'd be happy to answer. Still have 34 minutes to go. So Matt is asking, can you please share what you found with Mike about Autopilot? It was basically the blog post I showed here earlier in the beginning. This one here. It was basically a component missing in the module. So on the PowerShell gallery, this module was updated yesterday. And if I open up that module, this one here, and go to line 802, whoops. This is the section that was added, so that the Autopilot file now also contains that region that was missing. So as I demonstrated in my ConfigMas video yesterday, this is a JSON file that has been exported with that new module having 15 lines in it, and this one here only has 14, and it's missing that region section. There are other values you can throw in here as well as showcase how you can add a computer name, etc. on the fly during deployment, but that was the gist of that update in that module, to add in that support to skip that regional settings page. So, but the blog post will give you additional details. Wherever it went. This one here. Jacob on YouTube is asking, in MDT, what is the recommended way of calling a PowerShell script? I see some people use the run PowerShell script and other ones using the run command line. I personally prefer to use the run command line version because that is calling the core PowerShell exe directly. The other one is actually using one of the MDT binaries or modules to call that script. And I always prefer to use the one that is native into Windows. What you will find sometimes, see if I have a good example on that. Yeah, maybe my Autopilot sequence. This one here. No, that one is just copying a script. It's actually not running it. But long story short, if I were to run a script at some point, it would have to be PowerShell exe and execution policy and file and the file name to run. Some scripts works better if you copy them locally first, so you can have multiple strings to run here, or a command that has multiple things. There are good examples on that. So it basically will be, instead of a file, it will be a command, and then you will do multiple commands in a row here. And I found this is working better compared to using this option here. So that's my take on it. A question coming in on YouTube: how many of the ConfigMas episodes are you planning on running? Exactly 12. So starting on Christmas Day and ending up on January 5. Those are the 12 days of Christmas, and that will be the 12 episodes of ConfigMas. That is the plan. Any other questions? Happy to answer. There was a question regarding our good old Yellow Bag Brigade coming back anytime soon. No, I don't think so. It was a podcast, for those of you that don't know what it is, that me and Michael Nystrom put together many years ago. I think we did 5 or 6 episodes, but never say never. But I have no current plans on reviving that podcast. So, great question, though. Alrighty, I don't see any other questions coming in the various chats here. So thank you everyone for joining today. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you, or we will see you back here in 2024. Have a good one. Bye for now.